I recently saw Fantastic Four. Before that, I recently saw Superman. The odds of Marvel and DC having a movie in the same time frame, there's a competition. Always a winner of the competition. And I will say, the winner to me of the two movies, no, I'm just going to say it, it's Fantastic Four. Yeah, it's definitely to Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four. It's a movie with a better storyline. The cinematography is gorgeous. The scale of Galactus is huge. Superman had more action. There was some trouble areas in Superman that it's all over the place. It's plotless. I will say that Fantastic Four, for the first time, it had a plot. Yeah, I said it. It had a plot. This is what a plot is. It's not multiple plots. It's just one plot. The bar is so low. We're playing limbo at this time compared to the rest of the comic book movies that's recently come out. This might just be a masterpiece. The characters in this movie, Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, he sings like he's just playing a sad dad, an emo dad. He does, seem intelligent. But as far as Reed Richards from the comics, no, I don't think he got that down. I don't think Johnny Storm is the best Johnny Storm that it could have been. I think that he's watered down. Johnny in the comic is very, egotistic, maniac. He flirts a lot. He's a womanizer. He's like a man child.
You're not a baby, you're a man.
He's goofy, silly. And here he seems like a watered down version of Johnny Storm from the comics. Ben Grimm. In this movie, he doesn't have any storyline. He's also sad, together. Him and Reed Richards is the saddest people in this movie. But the standout character is Sue, the heart of this movie. And it is. She kind of carried the movie, but also they all carried the movie when they had to work together as a team. You get that family vibe, and it's a family working together to solve these issues, saving the world. There's a scene where they're trying to get out of a situation. I don't want to spoil it, but it was intense. Yeah, it was intense. And also, this is the first time in the Fantastic Four movie where I seen Silver Surfer actually surf. You're gonna watch this movie and you're gonna know exactly what part I'm talking about. You can see why they call her Silver Surfer. So overall, the movie was gorgeous as well. The cinematography reminded me of a low-budget Nolan type of film, and that's a great compliment. So I recommend the Fantastic Four. Yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. Going to give you my rating now because I'm just going to go in a little bit of the spoilers. Also, before I go, I wanted to tell you the practical effects mixed with the CGI effects were really awesome to look at. There was a baby in the film that reminded me of Twilight. Remember Twilight? I watched Twilight. Sorry. It's a guilty pleasure. I saw all the Twilight movies. Just going to put it out there. Sometimes I might watch a movie that's not very popular in other people's eyes, but it was interesting watching Twilight. I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. But it reminded me of the baby in Twilight. So, I'm going to get into spoilers. So, if you haven't seen the movie, go see it. Remember, I gave this a 3.5 stars. So, that's better than average. I gave it a score better than Superman. So, it is what it is. Right now, it's the best I can do. So, if you haven't seen this movie, I'll give you some time to log off on the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So our family is stuck with a dilemma. Alien visitor that comes to Earth is telling them, hey, there's this guy named Galactus and he wants to make an Earth sandwich. He's hungry. He hasn't had lunch. He really didn't have any breakfast, and Earth looks kind of like appetizing. So, and then, our families, they're the head of the Future Foundation, which I think that is I don't know. Is that like the leaders of the world, I guess? So they're like, no, let's maybe just have a conversation with this guy. Sometimes you got to be like an adult. You got to, address the situation and talk talk it out like two grown adults, and maybe you don't always have to go the you know the other route. There's always a solution to something. So they go to Galactus' house and they knock on the door and they like, hey man, can you eat at somewhere else? Like, is there a possible way you can eat at Denny's to get something to eat and maybe not Earth? And Galactus is like, sure, just give me one thing. And they're like, yeah, whatever we can do to help you. And he's like, yeah, give me your child. Give me your baby. Whoa. Yeah, that's a worse dilemma than before. So, they come back to Earth and they tell the Earthlings that, this dude wants to take our baby, and he said he won't eat Earth. He said he'd go to another Applebee's. And that part, I wish Reed would have just kept that to himself. Don't know why he told everyone on the planet. Could have just kept that to himself, because you're just gonna make people mad. You're just gonna, people not gonna look at your baby. They're gonna look at their lives. They're gonna like, well, give them the baby. They're not gonna care about your baby. So, I don't want to go too far, but then Sue makes a speech about loving your child, and everyone is good. Everyone is like, you know what? She made a point there, We're not mad at her, I guess we're okay with dying. That wasn't realistic to me. A speech is not going to make people change their mind that quick about not getting ate up. So, but Reed Richards come up with a plan. He says, you know what? Instead of, Galactus coming to Earth, we'll just move somewhere else. We'll just U-Haul it. We'll U-Haul the Earth into another galaxy system, which I don't know if that was really scientifically possible, because Earth is in a magnetic field that it kind of works perfectly for where it is across the sun, and I don't think you could just move the Earth. Something's not gonna be right. I think they could have worked on that a little bit more scientifically. Well, anyways, before they can even get that plan started, the Silver Surfer comes down and knocks everything down like, that game that you have. What's that game that, you build up the blocks and the blocks get knocked down? Yeah, the Silver Surfer does that. She knocks all the blocks down. And so they're stuck with a dilemma. He's coming to Earth and he's going to have an Earth sandwich. Probably put some mayo on it, some little bit of mustard, some relish. Make a sandwich, Earth sandwich. So, but they're not going for that. They say, we're a team, we're the Fantastics. So they're doing their thing. They're, battling Galactus, and they're not winning at all. Dude is huge. He's bigger than the Rock. He's bigger than a rock. So, you're gonna have to work a little bit more. But Sue uses every strength of her power to move him into the teleportation device. But she just can't get him on and all the way. And the Silver Surfer, Silver Surfer's like, I have a change of heart, because before that, Silver Surfer had conversation with Johnny Storm. He was kind of trying to convince her that you could do good in this world. And I guess at the end of the it took a while, but the Silver Surfer finally came to her senses and was like, you know what, I'm going to help these Earthlings because it's the right thing to do. And she pushes Galactus inside the portal, and she saves the day. And the Fantastic Four is able to save Earth. But there's more. Sue used all of her ability, and it ended up killing her. She's dead. Everyone is crying.
Man, I'm dead.
Giving their last goodbyes. And then all of a sudden, this little CGI babe. Well, it's not CGI now. It's actually, was it a CGI? Well, the CGI but real fake baby. He brings Sue back to life, and it's the end of the movie, and everyone's happy. Sue gets to live. I honestly thought they was gonna leave her in the dumps. I thought they was gonna just like let her stay like that. But hey, it is what it is. And so I read in the comics that this baby, before this movie even came out, can make pocket universes. This baby can literally make thousands of planets. This is a god tier type of mutant. And in the comics, he actually destroys Galactus and becomes Galactus. This baby is pretty powerful. Yeah, and so and then they show like a cartoon version of the Fantastic Four, and then they show, touching someone's face, and you can see that it's Doctor Doom. Which I don't know if that baby is touching a hideous face, because in the comics, his face is a little distorted. It looks, it's looked all burnt up, pieces missing. It's look, baby look like I don't want to go there. It's kind of messed up, but it could be just a regular face. It could be just Robert Downey Jr.'s face. We don't know. Only the future can tell. So I like what they're doing. Marvel's trying to get back on their feet. Just got to stay focused, Marvel. Don't mess it up. You guys are doing good. DC is jokety joke, slapstick, and I guess Marvel is more serious now, more prestige. So these are different times. So 3.5 stars is the best I could do. And that's keeping it real.
Your planet is now marked for death. Your world will be consumed by the Devourer. There is nothing you can do to stop him, for he is a universal force, as essential as the stars. Hold your loved ones close, and speak the words you've been afraid to speak. Use this time to rejoice and celebrate, for your time is short. I herald his beginning, I herald your end, I herald Galactus.